click the thumbs up button, thumbs up this video right now. Subscribe to all of my channels. The links to my other channels are in the description box. Make sure you wait all the way until the end of this video to do that though, and then go ahead and subscribe and click all notifications on all my channels, so that way you won't miss anything. Make sure you come back to the channels, click videos, see what's new. If they didn't send the notifications, you know, make sure you didn't miss anything. Click the thumbs up button. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning East Coast time, and I was about to go to sleep, but I said no, I got to make this video first. And the interview I'm about to listen to is 90 minutes long, and I'm going to edit this video and post it before I even go to bed because it's that important. Joe Budden from Love and Hip Hop and Def Jam Records did an interview with Kevin Samuels from YouTube on Joe Budden TV. It was posted April 16th of 2021, and it's titled The JBPX Kevin Samuels Special, the Joe Budden Podcast. I'm going to post a link to it in the description box as well as in the comment section for those that missed it. Make sure you listen all the way into the end of my video so you hear my opinion, because I want to do a review of the whole interview. Because as soon as I turned it on, Joe Budden said something so stupid, he made me turn my microphone on so that I could correct him. He starts off the interview by saying something goofy like, you know, I had direct messaged you, Kevin Samuels, you know, to try to book him for the show. He reached out to him to request an interview, basically. And he's like, you know, men don't DM other men. And I just, oh God, that made me have to turn the microphone on, because that is just so incredibly insecure. I mean, you're a businessman. It's a pandemic. You're trying to make some money and whatnot. Why in the world would you ever have an issue, or do you think you would ever need to explain to people who are listening why you direct message Kevin Samuels, or the fact that you direct message him at all? Like, I mean, the only thing you had to say was I reached out to you and booked the interview, and then just go on into the meat and the potatoes. Because as of right now, we're in the soup and it's very watery. You're going to start off the interview talking about how men don't DM other men. You got to be kidding me. Corny stuff like this is why I don't listen to the Joe Budden podcast. You know, unless something happens like this and I have to listen to it, otherwise I don't even deal with it. It's slow moving. Joe talks way too slow, and honestly it's boring. I don't like the dynamics between him and the two guys that are in the show. The black guy, I forget his name. The white guy's name, I think, is Rory. And it's like boys trying to be men. It's like really lame. And this is no offense, it's just my personal opinion, but it's very immature. It's just like a bunch of guys who are just brainwashed and placing themselves in a box based on what they think a man is supposed to say, or how they think a man is supposed to act. And no man is supposed to let society brainwash him and program him into believing some sort of like mythological example of how a man is supposed to be, some sort of a contrived prototype. Thank you to Kevin Samuels, because he's out here deprogramming people, whether you realize it or not. That's really what he is. He basically takes people who are brainwashed and under mind control, and he basically dismantles all of that BS like a bomb dismantler, like the Bomb Squad. That's really what Kevin Samuels is. So I'm so happy that he is on the Joe Budden podcast, because he gets to basically talk some sense into people like Joe. So Kevin ends up bringing up a point later on that I had to expound on. He talked about how if women were asked what men want, they don't even know the answer to that question. The reason why is because they simply don't care. They're incentivized to not care about what a man wants. And in fact, they can actually get more by not caring than they can by caring. And you might say, well, that sounds counterproductive. Wouldn't they get more if they were cooperative and knew what men wanted, gave men what they want, and then that way they could get what they want in exchange for giving the man what he wants? No, that's not how the game works. By her saying, well, I'm not even going to be concerned at all with what a man wants, it immediately puts her in a position of power, because she's essentially saying, like, look, I don't even have to care. You have to care about me. I don't have to care about you, which automatically makes me the boss, the ruler, the leader, and your God. Because of the simple fact that you're going out of your way to give me what I want. If I want attention, money, if I want to, lay down with you right now, or whatever it is, you're over here catering to me. You're over here supplying. I'm demanding, you're supplying. And if you start making demands, I just look at you with a blank, empty expression on my face. Like, I don't know why you're telling me that. You're speaking a foreign language to me. I have no idea why you think I care. Remember, no matter what men build, no matter what men do, no matter what men provide, what do women say? Well, at the end of the day, none of us would be here if I didn't have a womb. and you're just a stupid man, and men can't give birth, us women can. So what they're essentially saying is, I'm born with something that makes me superior to you. It's something that you could never obtain. And at the end of the day, you should already know, based off of that fact, why you have to give me whatever I want, do whatever I say, and allow me to run over you. And of course, many men go with that deal. I mean, look at how most women get the children after a custody battle. They get money during a divorce proceeding. You know, the judge almost always sides with the woman. They're like, give her the house, give her the car, give her the kids, give her whatever. You know, men have to start all over. Most homeless people are men. You know, nobody really cares about men collectively. They're sent off in war. They have to work in the mines. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, men are looked at as disposable, because pretty much it's like womb discrimination, not discrimination against the womb, but discrimination against men for not having a womb or not converting themselves to a female and saying, well, we're a woman, just a different type of woman. You see, then you get the special privileges that women get because you're now identifying as a woman. Anybody who's female identified gets womb privileges. The womb is the key. That's why I keep telling people that in the future, a lot of men are going to end up with basically like cyber wives, like women who are basically computer generated avatars, stuff like that, androids, robots that are going to be very lifelike, and also trans women with implanted wombs. That's going to be the new thing. There's going to be single guys that are going to go out there and go and get a womb made in a laboratory or whatever and just have a baby all by themselves, all by their lonesome. And that's going to be like the wave of the future. All of these things that I just mentioned, I know it sounds crazy, it sounds far-fetched, but a lot of it is already happening. And I've been talking about this for years, and people have been telling me that I'm crazy for saying what I'm saying. But you have to understand something. We're getting to a point now where, at least in the West, women are so incredibly out of control where they're just like, look, what I want is more important than the kids. It doesn't matter, the well-being, the health, the mental health, and the longevity, vitality, and the legacy of our children and our name. At the end of the day, my happiness and my ego supersedes everything. It supersedes all. My feelings are God, the new God. And everybody has to bow down to me, because if you don't, then I could just take my womb and not continue giving birth. And you don't want that. I mean, you don't want me to not get pregnant at all, do you? I have to get pregnant, because without me, then humanity wouldn't exist. Now, the smart thing to do, if women were like really hyper intelligent, they would have been more cooperative with men and worked as partners, and not just partners, but as equals, and just collaborated with men in a very cohesive and respectable and cooperative way to, if for nothing else, to benefit the children. But like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And at this point, it's necessary for men to do something in order to save humanity from these leeches. So what they're going to do, well, in the past, what they used to do was they would limit women's options. Women would basically, not be able to do things like have sex until they got married. They would be in arranged marriages, even though in some parts in the world these things still do exist. But in modern day times, in the West of the year 2021, they're like non-existent almost. But at the end of the day, back in the day, they used to limit women from whatever it was that they wanted, or whatever it was that they could get if they were completely free. So they would restrict women. Nowadays, the way that things are moving is that's looked at as barbaric and archaic. So what they're actually doing now with women, or rather with men, they're saying, well, move over women. What we're going to do is, instead of restricting women, we're going to expand men's options. Men were basically, everybody talks about how men were previously privileged way back in the day when women were in the kitchen and men had the opportunity to work. They had so much more freedom. They were voting. But of course, nobody wants to point out how men were dying while women were living, and all of this other stuff, all of the benefits that women were getting when they were being quote unquote oppressed, even though in some ways they were oppressed. But at the end of the day, nobody looks at the benefits that women received way back in the day. And what's happening is, instead of doing things the way that things were done before, where women are being told, you can't have this, you can't do that, sit down. Now they're being told, look, homegirl, sister, girlfriend, you're as privileged and free as can be. You're more privileged than men are at this point, just like how men were considered to be more privileged at one point. So then that way in the near future, they can say, well, remember when women showed their behinds and acted up? Well, the tables have turned, and now men have even more privileges and more opportunities than women. I mean, just look at how trans women are replacing, quote, cis women. I mean, they made Caitlyn Jenner the woman of the year recently, and you guys don't see it happening right in front of your face. Women are being taught a hard lesson just because men did, well, really, let's just be real here. It wasn't black men, as we all know, but men, quote unquote, put women in a box and restricted them and said, no, 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 you can't touch. So now women want to turn the tables and treat men even worse than they were treated in past times, which is idiotic. Instead of saying, well, what we're going to do is we're going to fight for true equality. Women don't want equality. They want superiority. And they want superiority because they have a womb, and they want men to envy the womb, just like how many women have penis envy. They want womb envy. However, men don't envy the womb. So then women look at men and say, well, the reason why you don't envy my womb is because you think that you're faster, better, and stronger than me. And that's actually her insecurities and her projecting, because she knows that men can beat her at everything. So then she starts screaming, misogyny, misogyny, misogyny. Male chauvinist pigs, you creepy woman-hating fools, right? However, at the end of the day, misogyny, I'm not going to say it's non-existent, but let's just say very few and far men between are true misogynists. What we're really facing is misandry, which is misogyny when it's done towards men. Women say blatant things to men about how they can't stand men. Some women flat out just say, I hate men, and they get away with it all of the time. Why do they get away with it? Because men are like, look, as long as we just let them talk, they'll be out of the way. Could you imagine if women actually had to live as equals? They would flip out. Right here on YouTube, you can't even talk about women. I've posted comments where I said her or woman or something like that, or she, and I just left a comment and my comment would just disappear, or it would be shadow banned by the algorithm and people would not be able to see it because I posted a comment about females. However, females call me all sorts of names all of the time, and men in general all sorts of names all of the time. Pretty much the only comments by women that get blocked is if they're posting like links to other places. YouTube doesn't want you leaving YouTube to, you know, they consider that to be spam or whatever. They don't want you leaving their website to go to a competitor, and pretty much everything is a competitor because Google, who runs YouTube, is the biggest search engine in the world, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. So at the end of the day, pretty much every other site is a competitor because people come to YouTube and Google for everything, even if they do temporarily leave and go somewhere else, but they always come back. But what they don't want is you leaving the website to go somewhere to get information somewhere else and then saying, I guess I won't have to go back there. And I mean, it's pretty much a smart business practice, and I understand. But at the end of the day, if women had to live as equals to men, they honestly would not even know what to do. When they say that they want to live equal to men, what they mean is they want to have as much money as men, but then also get money from men. So you want to make as much money as a man does. You want to say that there's an income disparity. However, you want a man who also makes more money than you. Well, how is that even possible? It doesn't make any sense. But then again, nothing that women say makes sense because, I mean, you have black women, for example, who are running around snitching to white people and saying, you know, these black men are not as educated as the black woman and they don't make as much money as us and all this other foolishness, even though black men actually make more money on average than black women. So that's a blatant lie. And it's the same thing with all other groups of women where the women are more formally educated than men are, because but they always leave that out in these news stories and whatnot. But the reason why is because men go and take on a trade or start a business etc. Why? Because men are generally far more independent than women. There's so many more independent men. Remember, men can't just go and bleed the system dry. It's not like a man can go and get pregnant, go and have a baby, and then go and just get himself 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 checks like women can, because resources are not set aside for men, because men are told you have to man up and you have to go make a way in the world for yourself. You're not a baby. While women, on the other hand, are told if you need some help, don't be afraid to ask. So it's literally the exact opposite. Men get tough love, women get big hugs. And then we all get told that that's equality. Sure. Remember, if women had to live equal to men, then that means that they would have to sign up for the draft. They would be put out on the front lines of battlefields. It means that people will stop saying very revealing things like a child needs their mother. So you're saying that, or are you implying rather that a child doesn't need their father? I mean, how could you say a child needs their mother? Why don't you say a child needs both parents if they're both available, if they're both alive? Then of course a child needs both. A child should have both. A child deserves both. I mean, it's not just popular to basically tell men that they're nothing and that they're not wanted and they're not needed. It's not just popular. It's almost written into law. Actually, it pretty much is, in a sense, because remember, men serve more time in jail than women for the same crimes. And I don't even just mean the same type of crimes. I mean, literally, if a man and a woman both go out and commit a crime together and they both did the exact same thing, the man would serve more time. But then again, of course, they have to have a setup like that, because what is a female's labor actually worth? Even in prison, their labor isn't worth as much as a man is. That's why you don't see too many women in prison. There's more women than men in America, just like there's more men than women around the world. And people want to deny that that's a fact, but whatever, you can look it up, because I got to with people before about this topic. But long story short, in America, there's more women than men, right? But there's way more men in prison. And it's not that women aren't committing crimes, because they definitely are. The issue is women simply can't do the work that men can do on average. That's why they don't put women on front lines. That's why you don't really see too many female construction workers. That's why, matter of fact, let me change my thought. Let me put it like this. Anything that a woman can do, a man can do, except for give birth yet. And that bothers many women, see, because women know deep down inside, it's like, wait a minute, when they turn around, it's like, the greatest chefs of all time are actually men, so they can't even say that they have the cooking thing on lock, as far as like raising these kids. The greatest people when it comes to raising kids are men. You know what I mean? Look at Mrs. Doubtfire. No, but seriously, R.I.P. Robin Williams. No, but seriously. Men are better at raising children than women, because if you look at the stats, they say that when you're raised by a single mother, people often end up, living a life of crime. But when they're raised by a single father, that's far less of an issue. The only time the importance of a man and a father is actually stressed and promoted in the mainstream media is when a single mother fails. Like when their child turns out to be good, the woman gets credit. When their child turns out to be trash, everybody says, well, where's the daddy? These gosh darn deadbeats are at it again. Sperm donor. But nobody's going around calling women an egg loaner. They get pregnant. They can leave the baby on the doorstep of the police station. Imagine a man doing that. A man could never do that. He'd be called deadbeat father. What's a woman called when she does those things? A mother in need. See the contrast? It's interesting, isn't it? Truth be told, if men with their tenacity, with our intelligence, testosterone, physical strength, resilience, and the fact that we have this immunity system that has been built up over the years because of all of the adversity that men have had to face, particularly black men, if we had the problems that women have, it would essentially be smooth sailing. Men wouldn't have very many complaints. They would say, things could be better, but life is good. I mean, you have a longer life expectancy and you get treated better in society. People believe in you. People promote you. Look at Black Girls Rock and Black Girls Magic. Ooh, narcissist. I mean, why don't black men or boys in general or men in general have any type of like self-esteem TV programs promoting that towards them? They just don't exist. I mean, not that white men need it, because, publications have written about how white males, according to studies, actually get a self-esteem boost from watching TV and interacting with media, whereas other groups of people, women, minorities, black men, basically it's the exact opposite result. Like they feel bad about themselves after basically viewing media and absorbing it. But if black males had to face the quote unquote plight that black females, white females, Asian females, whatever, Hispanic females, whatever. If we had to face the little bit of things that females have to face on a daily basis, men would be far better off. Things would be so much easier. However, the elites, in my opinion, have society set up in such a way that they purposely are making things harder for men. So men will be distracted, and that way they don't go thinking they can topple and overthrow anything. There's a lot of problems in the world. They're talking about basically people fighting over water is coming soon. And they've alluded to that in movies off and on for years, but they're saying that's coming not very far in the future. And in my personal opinion, if you don't believe it was manufactured, then you're just a damn fool. I mean, everything is rigged. Almost nobody is going to see this video, for example. Literally, life itself is rigged. What jobs people are going to get, what opportunities are going to be afforded to them, what resources are going to be available for certain areas. Look at what happened to the water supply in Flint, Michigan. Everything is set up in such a way that it is purposely made, crafted, a concocted plan to keep certain people at the bottom, certain people on the top, like how in the Hollywood Hills, I think it is, people live up on the hill, and then right beside them is like the ghetto. And they can look down from the hills with binoculars and see all of the peasants roaming around with nothing while they're up there chilling in their huge expensive mansions on these nice sized lots of land while these people are struggling. And it's like that in foreign countries too, like Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Lagos? Is it Nigeria? Or it's somewhere in Africa, in the continent of Africa, where I heard that the slums are right next to the suburbs. I think South Africa is like that as well, where you have these little shanty towns or whatever. You have people who are struggling and they're living right next to people who are, running around looking dapper like Kevin Samuels with the suit on. And these people were wearing rags or pretty close to it. But yeah, bottom line, the game is rigged. And the house, if this were a casino, men would be the patrons and the women would be running the house. And then we get to hear about how it's a man's world, where men die first and get less than women do. But yet men get told over and over again, thanks to propaganda, that they're doing so much better than women are. And please stop telling me that men make more money than women. I know that they do because of the jobs that they choose to take. Also, how are you going to talk about how men make more money than women when men are giving money to women all of the time? You might say, well, some women some of the time give some money to some men. And it's okay, that's real cool. That's real cute. But at the end of the day, men give far more money to women. And sometimes it's appointed by the court system, the legal system. And that's the way that things are set up because, once again, the game is rigged. So Kevin and Joe were talking about something really interesting in the interview. They're talking about, well, this is not how they worded it, but this is how I'm going to word it, okay? You have to lie to lay. You have to lie to women to lay with them. Let me tell you something. That is the ultimate secret of men who are quote unquote successful with women, whether they have a lot of money or no money at all. That's the big hidden secret, the secret of the hidden temple, or whatever that show was called on Nickelodeon back in the day. At the end of the day, if you want to get women, the big secret, and it's going to sound really crazy, but it's simply lie to them. Tell them what they want to hear. Listen, women love lip service. They love to hear things that are going to make them feel good, and not just feel good, make them think great things about themselves. Society says it's because women have low self-esteem. That's a lie. Stop, you lying devil. At the end of the day, women love lip service, and they love to hear nice things about themselves and think nice things about themselves because they're narcissists. Society has set up safety nets, and it operates in such a way where women are basically incentivized to be narcissistic. And one of the main reasons why is because it's to scare men. It's to scare men into submission and to make men say, I don't want to go against her because I could lose everything by saying something that goes against a woman. So then men are kept at bay, men are kept in fear. And in that way, the kings that are running things get to continue to run over everybody. And women are going along with it because the only thing that they know is they get told that they're important. If decent men ran society and we had to live in reality and people spoke truth to women, they would have to fess up and realize that just because you're born female doesn't make you special. Having a womb is the only thing that they have that they can hold on to. It's their only weapon. It's their go-to thing. Well, we give birth to everyone. That's the end. Well, no, that's just the beginning, because you're about to be replaced. Oh, Lord. Kevin Samuels said something so interesting. He said that sometimes these women don't even like, you know, the tone or the quote unquote harshness of what he says. And that's the problem. It's not what he's saying. However, it's how he's saying it. And I would implore you to go watch that video of when Crystal Kerrison and those other two women had called into what was the Huffington Post, and Mark Lamont Hill interviewed them. And let me tell you something. I mean, they were gnawing away at him. And, you know, Mark Lamont Hill is about as soft as possible. He's black cotton. You know what I mean? Like, Mark Lamont Hill is a very respectful person. He's not the type of person to say or do something that's, you know, offensive to pretty much anybody. Maybe black men, but definitely not women, or black women specifically. So, you know, for them to react towards him the way that they did, I think it was 2 out of 3 of them that really were showing their behinds. Of course, Crystal was, you know. But at the end of the day, the reason why I brought that up is because it's so interesting to me that Kevin would say that. And it doesn't come down to just the way that you say things. For most of these chicks out here, the issue is that you're saying anything at all. That's what the problem is. You should listen. They spent so much time, so much money, so many resources, and sacrificed their own children's future just for men to now have Kevin Samuels come and be their savior and give them their balls back. So these women are like, wait a second. We did not neuter men for decades just for some random guy to come up with a suit on YouTube and start teaching these men how to be men again. This is ridiculous. He's literally making men again. He's doing this before our very eyes. We are witnessing a revolution. We are witnessing men waking up, growing a pair, and acting like, well, first of all, other people had tried to, you know, speak some sense to men. There's, you know, the whole red pill thing. There's the MGTOW guys. Tariq Nasheed has been talking to these fools for years. And, you know, it worked to some degree. But Kevin Samuels, he's the one. I mean, for whatever reason, he's resonating well with a lot of people. Imagine when he goes mainstream. Like I said recently, I said, if you guys have, you females have such a problem with Kevin Samuels, imagine when this brother goes mainstream and he ends up all over the television. Imagine when he has his own show. Imagine movies and all of these different things that are going to be happening in the future. Imagine when there's plays. Imagine when a straight, super masculine version of Tyler Perry comes out and makes a play about stuff like this, about relationships and the type of stuff that Kevin talks about. It's a wrap. It's game over. In fact, if I know the other side well enough, what they're going to do is they're going to come with the Kevin Samuels equivalent that's going to be supposed to be like the bigger, better version of Kevin Samuels to be his adversary. Either that, either they're going to come out with a Derrick Jackson type to counteract Kevin Samuels. Number 2, they're going to come out with a scandal and try to expose him, even if it's totally made up, to discredit him. Or number 3, they're going to come out with somebody who's a lot like Kevin Samuels, but he's going to be more toned down. And they're pretty much going to have him, the Kevin Samuels clone that is, and clone boy, Kevin Light, is going to be the watered down version of Kevin. He's going to say very similar things. However, the hard hitting points are going to be taken away, taken out, and replaced with soft blows. You have to understand how propaganda works. Shout out to Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew, if I'm not mistaken. He had that book from 1928 called Propaganda. If you just type in a YouTube propaganda audio book, it should pop up by Edward Bernays. Okay, but wait until the end of this video. Thank you. Come again. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I'm not done yet. Choose all notifications. I'm gonna keep talking. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I can't believe I've been talking for almost 30 minutes. I didn't expect for this video to be the song. I thought I would have had the video edited and up by now, but I'm still yakking. So apparently I have a lot to say, but this Joe Budden podcast is an hour 33 minutes and 29 seconds. I'll try to not make this video that long. I will try. Off topic, but I wish the Collie, the C-O-L-I, the Collie, however you pronounce it, would repost this video, and Lipstick Alley, because I wonder what these brothers would have to say about it, what these women would have to say about it, as well as some of these white websites. I wonder what people would have to say about my opinions, but I'll be right back. Oh God, I completely disagree with something that Kevin Samuels said. Now, a lot of you are brainwashed and you're like, well, I have to agree with every little thing that Kevin Samuels says or I'm going against my God. Listen, I love Kevin Samuels. That's my guy. He's like big bro or something. But at the end of the day, or like an uncle or something like that. But let me explain to you guys something. He said that these women are the least happy that they've ever been. And the reason why is because they don't have their relationship thing together and the family unit and all this. Dude, BS. These women don't even want those things. They don't care about their kids. They're on that empty kids type of mentality. You know, they don't care about their husbands. That's why they're getting divorced. That's not why they're not happy. They're not happy because they don't have more control, more dominance over men, number one, and number two, they're mad because they don't have enough money to buy these trinkets that they want, to buy trash, to buy novelty items. That's really what it boils down to, is that they're like, you know what, I wish I could have one more expensive bag and pair of shoes set, and I wish I could buy it myself, so then that way I could tell a man I didn't need his behind to buy it. That's why they're upset. It's about finances and power. That's why you'll hear a black woman talk about herself and she'll be like, blah, 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 my brand. And then if you ask her, well, sister, do you own a business? If so, what is the name of your LLC or whatever, however she has her corporation filed? Come to find out, she doesn't have a brand. She's referring to herself. She looks at herself as the business. That's what you don't understand. And since attention is a form of currency, she measures how successful she is based on how much money, how much attention, and how much penis she gets from men at the end of the day. Okay? So that's what this really all boils down to. Dominance. Not this foolishness about how great women are and how they deep down inside want to have a family, but yet they're out here getting divorced. They deep down inside want children. However, they don't want the children that they have. And the ones that they don't have, they try to persuade other women to not have children as well. Kevin is saying that these women feel as if like there's something missing. And yes, the thing that's missing is more power and more money, more dominance, and more inanimate objects, more possessions. And remember, these possessions are not to attract men. They're to compete with other women. Why? For fun. It's like their way of battle rapping. It's not like they have creativity. You know how like men will compete with each other, you know, on the basketball court, which is a skill, or play a game of pool, which is a skill, or they'll battle rap, which is art, which takes talent, which is a skill-based art form. Yeah. Well, how women compete with each other often is basically, oh, look, I have a more expensive bag than you have. Oh, look, my hair is longer than yours. It's fake. I paid for it, but the fact that I could afford it is what makes me better than you. And they even dress their kids up in expensive clothing, and then look at a woman who dresses her kids in a more economically responsible way, and they're like, well, I'm better than her because her kids are over there, you know, wearing JCPenney, and my kids are wearing Gucci, so I must be a better mother. It's all about competing for dominance. That's it. It has nothing to do with them missing something and, you know, them deep down inside being so deep and so insightful and intuition and all this other crap. If that's the case, then you wouldn't dare use your own child as a pawn in your game if you were just naturally this superior person. Y'all better go back and read your Bible and read about the scriptures about Adam and Eve and the serpent and all of that other foolishness. You better go back to that because there's a lot of truth in that. You know what I mean? It's symbolic, not literal. There's no talking snakes except for on cartoons. Shout out to Cobra Commander. But y'all better go back and read Adam and Eve again. Okay, Kevin Samuels brought up that Cosmopolitan magazine crap and how they basically sold women on this lifestyle of being the Playboy version of women, the whole Playgirl thing. And yeah, that may be true, but let's get down to the nitty gritty. What was the motive? Like, what motivated women? What motivated women to become the Playgirl, or basically, you know, live that outlawish, you know, I'm so fly. Look at all of these women that I have and men that I have. And look at how I can kick butt and control things. And I have this degree and all this money. And I'm so fly and I don't need no man. And how men are a pawn in my game. At the end of the day, what motivated women to do that was literally beating men. It was penis envy. That's all that it came down to. It was, I'm going to show these men that I'm better than them. Tell me that I need to get into the kitchen? Tuh. Now, the same heifers that were saying this and acting this way were probably never told that in their whole lifetime. But they heard it somewhere and they said, well, some woman told it. So they internalized and it said, well, that could have been said to me, even though it wasn't. And they said, well, I'm going to show men, I'm going to teach men as a group a collective lesson, and I'm going to win at all cost. And if it costs my children their future, what did I just say? At all cost. If I had to sell my womanhood, my humanity, all of the things that I came to earth to do, to procreate, to reproduce, to be the best wife that I could be, forget all of that crap. Even their religion. They're willing to throw away their belief in God, that stuff that they claim to believe in the Bible or the Quran or whatever holy book that they claim to believe in. They're willing to cast all of that to the side just for what? For what purpose? To beat men. That's it. There's a song with this rapper. It's a male rapper. He says something to the effect of, I thought a broke N-word said something. And that's how women treat men. They're like, I thought a man said something. Like, you dare challenge me? Do you know you're not a woman? Do you know you don't have a womb? You're just a man. All of their critiques, if you actually listen to women, it's all about how men don't have A, B, C, X, Y, Z. It's all about basically critiquing you in such a way where she's putting you in your place and reprimanding you and punishing you for lacking. She's trying to castrate you because she has penis envy, and this is her way of taking your genitals. Now here's the thing, right? Kevin Samuels loves to promote marriage, and he says that one of the reasons why he promotes marriage is because in corporate America, remember, he's the corporate guy, the corporate image consultant, right? In corporate America, these rich, ritzy white men are married, and it's just like in politics. I mean, have you ever seen an unmarried president in modern times? No, right? It's a part of the image. The wife comes as part of the package. And I think it's so interesting because, what they're going to start doing, especially with this whole LGBT thing, since the world is rapidly changing, Kevin's idea about, black men need to be married in much higher numbers is about, I would guesstimate, somewhere between 20 and 30 years too late, possibly a little more. But I would say 20 to 30 years too late. Because now that we're moving into a world where in corporate America and whatnot, marriage is becoming less and less important, or at least traditional marriage between a man and a woman. So while he's out here promoting it, that he's literally promoting something that's fading away before his very eyes. It's like he's promoting smoke or a mist. Like, look at the smoke. Everybody needs this smoke. Everybody needs this mist. Wait, where did it go? Remember this. When a woman divorces, when she's a divorcee, she's a single mother. So she's included in those stats of quote unquote single mothers. Single mothers aren't just women who went and had kids outside of wedlock. Because remember, she can always get married later to the father of her child or children or someone else. So that's not what makes a woman a single mother. What makes her a single mother is being unmarried while having a child at any point is considered to be single motherhood. And that includes widows, unfortunately. I mean, whatever it takes to make black folks look bad on paper. Once again, you have to understand how propaganda works. But at the end of the day, marriage is becoming far less important. He keeps on promoting it. I say what we should fight for is, since women want to compare themselves to men, particularly black women, have basically told black men over and over again, we don't need you, you don't offer anything, and you're basically irrelevant, and I'm misrelevant. Well, okay, cool. What we should promote is competition between black men and black women. And I know this sounds like a really crazy concept, but pretty much it should be like a winner takes all type of situation. And you might say, well, why in the world would you even suggest something like that? Are you trying to cause more division? No, things are already divided. She's been telling you, no, excuse me. She's been telling the world for decades now how much she hates you, how much she doesn't need you. What part of that don't you get? So at the end of the day, what you need to do in order to break that ego ice and make ego slushies is to say, okay, well, let's compare each other. Let's compare ourselves. You wanted to compare and contrast. Let's do it. And then beat her at her own game. That's it. I mean, we're talking about somebody who brags about being the most educated and her children are the least educated. And that doesn't tell you something right there. Then I don't know what in the world to tell you. Kevin pointed out something really interesting. He compared it to the book of Eli. He said that, I think it was March of 2020, when he walked into a store or whatever, and, you know, he saw fear in women's eyes because they were like, wait a second, there's no toilet paper, there's no water to drink. Remember, I told you that there's supposed to be this huge water shortage that they're calling the, quote, water wars. That's what they're dubbing it, right? Let me tell you something right now about women. Women aren't looking at it like, well, men built this country and look at how things are, and I'm having this epiphany and realizing how important men are. What they're actually seeing is, do you see how dumb and incompetent these men are? If these men were something special like us women, they would be able to fix this issue. Now, this is where things start getting tricky. You might be saying, well, how do women intend to fix it? Number one, they don't intend to fix it. Number two, when it does get fixed, they do intend, however, to take the credit for it getting fixed by men. Also, the way that they're going to take the credit is to say, well, see, our prayers worked. It was the law of attraction. God shined and shed his grace on us because we're women and we're favored. We are the chosen ones. We are special. We are God incarnate. And the most credit they're going to get men are, well, y'all did drive the trucks and bring the water in the forklift. And the toilet paper too. Yep, y'all sure did. Y'all sure did work those hand trucks. That's about it. But we, the women, manifested it. Okay? For the record. Told you we had magic. And yeah, that's really how they think. That's what I don't think even Kevin Samuels, as intelligent as he is, understands just the sheer tomfoolery that these broads are on at this point in history. They really don't care about what men have had to go through. Like, I'll give you an example. There's this chick named Chrissy. She makes YouTube videos. She's a dark-skinned black woman, right? And she came up with something called DDS, or Divine Dark Skin, which is a magazine which promotes dark-skinned black women. So then that way, you know, they can become more appealing to non-black men. So then that way they could, quote, level up and go and get the Mazzatti, okay, over the fence. And no, I'm not making this up. I wish I was. But this is actually true, okay? And this chick said that brothers, black men, gave her like 5 G's, like $5,000 to start this magazine. And instead of her being grateful and saying thank you to the black men who gave her what they gave her and leaving it at that, like a normal woman would, this is a black woman, what she said was, well, I mean, they're men. They're supposed to pay for stuff. And no, I'm not kidding. That's true entitlement. That's true self-worship. You're a man. You're supposed to pay for this. Huh? So you give something to somebody out of the kindness of your heart, and then they turn around and say to you, they spit in your hand and spit in your face by saying, well, you were supposed to do that. That's what you're here for. You were born to serve me. You were born to give to me. Imagine a man speaking to a woman that way. In this society, it wouldn't go too well, at least at this point in history. But like I said, they're being replaced. And the fact they think that that can't happen is what's going to make it so much better. That's what makes it so much juicier. Men are basically building up a nut right now. We're just sitting back, you know, waiting for this whole thing to pop. And since men have been through stuff all of these decades and women for the most part have not, well, women aren't going to be able to handle these coming changes. And guess who they're going to blame? Men. And guess how men are going to react to the women blaming them over situations that they won't be able to control, at least not immediately. Let's just say everyone's in trouble. All right, you guys, you know, I finished listening to this podcast, so let me just say this, okay? They talked about so much stuff. There were so many jewels that were dropped. You know, a lot of the information that Kevin Samuels is disseminating is just stuff that I knew from over the years, from my personal studies, observations, and the things that I've learned one way or another. And I can tell you, you know, Kevin is pretty much one of the best people that you can listen to when it comes to life and manhood. And he's not doing it. How do I word this? You have somebody like, let's say like Jason Black, for example, who in my opinion is doing it from like an ignorant, like wannabe standpoint. Tariq Nasheed is doing it from like a street standpoint. So it's all about the whole being a player or a Mac sort of way. And Tariq says a lot of things that are true, but unless you're dealing with like a certain type of woman, a lot of the stuff that he says is kind of not applicable. But all these people were speaking to a certain niche market, Jason Black is talking to the dudes who or just lost. I mean, anybody who listened to him. But Tariq Nasheed is talking to people who are more like urban and street, I guess you could say. Kevin Samuels is talking to the quote high value people or high class people who are well to do, people who are upwardly mobile, which is of course the goal for most people out here, at least most men. They want to be alpha, they want to be handsome, they want to be wealthy and stuff like that. So, I mean, a lot of stuff that he's saying is just really on point. I appreciate his contribution to what some people call the manosphere, which I am most definitely not a part of, because people have said that before, that I'm a part of the freaking manosphere. I'm like, me? I don't know how you think that. I'm sitting here talking about love and hip hop and how fine these women with their big hydrogel butts are, and I don't have time to be a part of the manosphere. I'm too busy, talking about these fine women and them big booties. That's what I'm here for, is to tell beautiful women how important they are and how much I love them, and to help fight this hashtag war on pretty. I am not here to be a part of the manosphere. But anyway, shout out to Kevin Samuels. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you to Joe Budden, as well as his co-hosts. And there was this one dude with a striped sweater on the show. He wasn't dressed like Where's Waldo, but he did have a striped sweater on. And that brother was going in. Somebody has said, actually it was Joe Budden that said something to the effect of, I'm going up against two Kevin Samuels. I mean, this guy's pretty good. He's not Kevin Samuels, but he was definitely dropping some bombs or spitting some ether, as Tariq Nasheed would word it. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about it all below. Do you agree with the things that Kevin said? Did you listen to the interview? Were you more along on the side of the bald-headed guy that's sitting there on the stool acting and looking like a fool? Let's call him SMX, Stoolman X, okay? Some of the stuff that he was saying was just foolish. It sounded as if, I don't know, like, as if he was like not on men's side defending women, because some of the conversation was just too harsh for him to handle. It was too much for him to handle. He was like, you know what? If I agree with you right now, I'll never get laid again. That's the way he came across. Like, as if he was kind of pandering somewhat to women. I don't know what his name was, but he's one of the people that were there on the podcast. But anyways, shout out to Joe and to Kevin and everybody else that was there on the show. And, I would really love to speak with Kevin live. I don't know if he would call into my show, but that would actually be pretty cool. Talk to Kevin for like 30 minutes, brisk 30 minutes. I have some questions. I have some ideas. But anyways, would you guys like to hear that? Me and Kevin Samuels, the Meat Magazine versus Kevin Samuels. Like, would you guys tune in for that? Nobody's going to see this video because the algorithm is kicking my behind. No, it's not really the algorithm. It's the way that things are set up, because I was shut down back in 2017, but that's a whole nother topic. But anyways, let me know what y'all think about it below. Do you like Kevin Samuels? Do you like what he has to say? Are you a hater? Are you upset because he speaks too much truth? Does he, expose your intentions and the dirty things that you're doing? Are you like a corrupt woman? Are you one of those types of chicks that's out here doing men dirty, and you feel like Kevin Samuels is out here just making you look real crazy, out here, spilling your tea, telling your secrets, however you want to word it? Or do you agree with him? Anyways, either way, let me know what you think about it below. Click the thumbs up button on this video, thumbs up this video, subscribe to this video, choose all notifications. I'll post the link in the description as well as the comment section to the video that I just talked about. And please let me know whether or not you agree or disagree with me. Please let me know in the comment section. And I'll make a separate video about my opinion about Kevin Samuels claiming Saweetie is a, quote, an adjustable 6. I think that's what he said. And remember, he also said that Beyonce is an 8. and he said, did he say Rihanna's a 9 and Kelly Rowland is a 10? Or was it Rihanna's a 10 and Kelly Rowland is a 9? I'm going to make a separate video about Kevin Samuels ratings, and I'm going to try to make it a short video, but we'll see. But anyways, let me know what you think about it below. All right, y'all, MAGA.